Let's make this happen.
All right. So, in a rare event, we are going to rehash a discussion from 2 weeks ago that was about the show Heated Rivalry. And in the last time that we talked about it, neither of us had watched it because, for all intents and purposes, not totally up our alley, right? Like, if you take you're not into sports movies, it's not your jam. I'm not into romance. Like, I depends on the show. Like rom-coms, I generally like, but like I've never watched Bridgerton. Like I avoid romance shows because they're not really my thing.
Are they my
Um,
thing?
Not particularly,
No,
unless Saloni tells you they are.
and that's like, yeah, no, I'm actually probably even less inclined to the rom-coms
Yeah,
than
yeah,
than you are.
yeah. And like I said, comedy I like as long as it's well done. Like I have some movies that I absolutely love that are rom-coms. But there's not a lot of like romance films or shows that I would watch. Like I said, the biggest named one I can think of off the top of my head is Bridgerton, and I've not seen a single second of that unless I walked into the room when my wife was watching it. And so, there was a reason we hadn't watched these, and it was because it just wasn't really our thing. And I think if Lauren hadn't watched it, to her credit, we wouldn't be talking about it now. And what happened is she watched it. That episode got more views than anything under the sun for us. For some channels, that's like a Sleepy Tuesday, but we got a lot of views and a lot of feedback, and um, the overwhelming majority of anybody that commented was that they love the show. Like that was crystal clear. And so with Lauren's enjoyment of the show and all the feedback we got from obviously a lot of people, like this show touched a lot of people to get the number of views that it got compared to what we get for other things. So we took it upon ourselves to be mature adults and go watch the show that we wouldn't watch because we wanted to be part of the conversation. And so now we're here, and we have both watched the show, and I think I speak for both of us. We were very impressed, correct?
Absolutely.
So yeah, it's an interesting show because it is the romance thing, which again, like I said, I don't watch anything for romance, and I think there was some parts of it, and we'll get into it in a minute. But there's some things about it that I just was kind of like about with the romance part of it. And then the hockey side of it, I think was interesting because it's obviously a key part of the show, but it's pretty well glanced over. Like the way the show moves through time, you get the bits and the pieces and the reasons. Like you get the hockey bits that put them together, whether it's them or whether it's Scott and Kip. Um, you know, eh, that stuff is there as a set piece almost, like the hockey bit, down to it really setting up arguably the most important moment in the show, which is Scott and Kip. And so yeah, I mean, let's get into it. We have, I would say to me, the first two episodes are almost like one episode, right? Like um, this is the beginning and the budding of their relationship. And I said it in the text between the three of us. But for me, the first two episodes were by far the weakest. And I think that comes out of what ultimately makes the last two episodes great. But there's such a, I don't know, like these two don't know exactly who they are to each other for a long time. Like it's like, at least to me, in these two episodes, Ilya was really, it was a fling. It was like a thing that was convenient. He liked him a lot, but it was still like this kind of side thing to his life. And I think one of the things that was said that really clicked for me was when Shane was talking to one of his friends, and I forget who it was, but she asked him if he was going to tell his parents, and he's like, no, 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 and then they're like, well, who do they think you're talking to? And he's like, oh, well, they probably think I'm talking to some married guy, and
Mm.
I was like, in a way, he was. Like Ilya was married to hockey. Like there's
Well, hold on a
nothing that's going to
second
get in
though.
the way
Hold
of
on a
that.
second though. I remember that actually being about Kip and his dad. Wasn't it? Because I think the
Maybe
dad
you're right.
thought,
Maybe you're right.
yeah,
Maybe you're
the
right.
dad thought Kip was just,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
whatever. Yeah. So I just
But
want to like defend Shane's honor.
true, true, true. But same point though. Like these players, uh, they're married to hockey. Like to ultimately do what Scott does. Like yes, that's the ballsy move. But to ultimately do that, you really are taking the chance that this thing that you've done for your entire life, you don't become a professional hockey player into your 30s without having played hockey since you were like 5.
A wee kid,
Yeah, like
correct.
so this is your life. This is the thing
Hmm.
you have done your entire life. And so to put that on the line in any way is a monumental risk. And so yeah, in a way they are in fact married to hockey. Like that's their thing and everybody else is the mistress.
Yeah. And I honestly think that that could be applied to anyone who's ambitious and is
Hmm.
dedicated to their
Yeah.
craft.
Yeah.
I think that, and I do think that sometimes, even as an ambitious guy, it's a stereotype, but like sometimes you're married to your work,
Yep.
you're seen as a workaholic, and a lot of times it's just that balance thing, right? But for me, I was really blown away by Heated Rivalry because it was so much more. It had so many more layers than what was explained to me 2 weeks ago, and I would love to get the viewpoints of those who might come back and watch our take on it. Not that it should matter, but just also want to be very clear that neither Kevin and I are in the LGBT kind of landscape. So we're talking about this as allies and outsiders, but at the same time, I do think that there's something to be said for empathy and something to be said for also kind of taking your own experience and trying to relate. So what I will say as a black man or a person of color is that I think I find it refreshing when I see anything that depicts a more three-dimensional, real, authentic reflection of my own experience. And what I saw from this show from the beginning to the end was two individuals who, actually really three, but I'll start with the two, Ilya and
Yeah.
Shane, who are navigating life. They're navigating life. They both happen to be in hockey. They both are, there's something different within them. Shane, hilariously to me, I think was willing to engage and respond to Ilya's advances, but I don't think he necessarily saw himself or accepted himself as a gay person until much, much later. I think he just
Yeah.
saw this as some weird aberration that's directed only to Ilya. Ilya, on the other hand, is someone who I think has gone through a lot of trauma in his life and he has
Yeah.
a lot of psychological walls. So, but he saw something in Shane. And I think in the beginning, it probably was purely physical. But then as time went on, that of course started to change. Now, what I thought of as really just authentic and honest was number one, the depiction of, honestly, I'll just say it, sensuality, not sexuality, but sensuality. You don't see a lot of man on man sensuality in media ever. It also dispelled a lot of the stereotypes. Like, I think that, a lot of people might think of gay sex as dank and illicit and dirty and very just carnal. And while that was sort of there,
There's
it was
definitely some
really
like a few.
it,
Yeah, for
it
sure.
was it was it was it was raw, but it was also just kind of realistic. I mean, I'm just being really frank with you guys, okay? Um, there's the concept of like the top and the bottom. Now, no one
Hmm.
said anything about tops and bottoms in the show, but you
Right.
clearly saw at one point Shane even says, "I like to be the one who gets,
Yep.
So, and then even the positions that they're assuming. It wasn't always a doggy thing. It was like they're looking at each other or they're from the side and they're still kissing. Like I've never seen that before in my life, right? As far as being on TV.
Right.
Yet, yet those are very real lived experiences. And I do remember actually working in retail where that was explained to me by one of
Hmm.
my gay bosses
Yeah.
that no, it's not always a doggy
Yeah, it's
thing.
not one dude. Yeah.
You just kind of lift up a little higher. Again, I'm being graphic, but at the same time, this is real. This is real.
Yeah.
And I think that that's one of the things that makes shows like this appreciated because I'm sorry, representation matters because it feels good to be seen and it doesn't feel good to be invisible. It doesn't feel good to be told indirectly that you don't matter. And I think that this show told gay men, and again, there's other people in the audience. It couldn't just be a gay man thing because otherwise the show wouldn't be as huge as it is. But
Yeah.
it tells gay men you matter, and we're going to bother telling your stories. So that to me is why I wouldn't necessarily even like me personally, I wouldn't go into each of the episodes and say this one's good, this one's bad. It's a journey.
Yeah.
And it showed both sides, the more kind of hookup-y, fun, like fly by night side, and then of course it evolves into a really substantive, beautiful, vulnerable commingling of souls
Hmm.
towards the end. So we're gonna go back and forth like we always do.
Yeah.
But that's my first impression of what I think made this special. I do think it was a very honest, authentic take on young men navigating themselves and their sexuality.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. And like I said, like this, we are allies. We're not the people that necessarily live in this community. I have at least two family members that are LGBTQ, um, and very close. I spent a decade in theater and music. Like I've been around, which is funny when she said,
Yes,
when the
80
girl
to
that was dating,
90%.
yeah, when she talked about dating guys that were gay and she was their last girlfriend. Like I have talked to so many girls that I knew that were guys' last girlfriend. Like they're like, is it me? Like it almost feels like they radiate something where they make them feel safe enough
Hmm.
that they try that last time, but then they're
Yeah.
also comfortable enough that they can come out and then it comes. So like a lot of, at least again, I'm thinking of like high school for this particular part of it. So it's definitely a long time ago and definitely a younger mentality, but there were definitely girls that seemed to attract that in a way. Like there were a few girls that I knew that were like the last girlfriend for more than one guy, and so it's interesting, but being around the community and knowing as many people as I did, and in college, I went to gay bars. I remember though, like not being as aware of like the community as you could be. Like in high school, I worked on the school newspaper, and I had a good friend named Alex, who was gay, and I knew it. Like he was very gay, very clearly gay. We were awesome. Like we got along great. When I got into college, I was sitting there in choir one day. I'm talking to this guy that I've been talking to for like a week and a half, like we're into the year, and we're talking, and he's like, blah, blah, blah. And then me and my boyfriend did it. And I was like, wait, what? I was like, what'd you say? And he's like, me and my boyfriend. And I was like, you're gay? And he's like, yeah. And I remember like looking back, like just like 2 days later, and I was like, oh yeah, he's hella gay. Like, I don't know how I missed it. So like, it's like a community and being surrounded by these people and being able to live in their world sometimes is really cool. Like I remember going to, especially again in theater is the where I was most social, I think, which is part of it too, right? This is my 20s. But going to gay bars with my friends was so much fucking fun. Like everybody's having a good time. Like I know I'm sure it depends on the bar and the people, but the ones that I went to with my friends, there was no expectations about anything from anybody. Like everybody was welcoming and kind, and it wasn't. We were going to like dance places and stuff too. We weren't going anywhere like seedy or anything. But like, yeah, it's a lot of people, especially on the outside, that aren't allies or that don't know anybody that's going through this. They don't understand that it's just they're just regular people that like this that are have this different like feeling and this different thing. And I think when you watch this show, you definitely see the person that struggles with it the most by far is Shane,
Yeah.
right? Like you said, he doesn't quite get it. And in a way, I think he always knew, but he didn't always accept, right? And you talk about Ilya's family being oppressive, like not oppressive might be the wrong word, but a rough family life
Oh
for
yeah.
sure,
Hmm.
right? And he's afraid to come out because he's from Russia, like that would be a bad
There's
thing. So
serious ramifications.
yeah,
Like, as a
yeah,
matter of fact, I don't think you can even watch Heated Rivalry in Russia.
yeah, I bet
You
you
have
can't.
to pirate it.
Mhm. And so, he wrestles. He doesn't wrestle. He is openly bi. Like he even says he's never loved a man before,
Hmm.
and he's only loved one. And so that, at the end of the show becomes, an important thing to point out,
Distinction.
right?
Hmm.
And but he's always been comfortable with who he was. He
Yes.
knew that he was liked women. He knew that he liked men, and he was good with that. Like he talks about having, one of his experiences being his hockey coach's son,
Correct.
and he's like, yeah, of course nobody knew about that. We'd be dead.
Who
Like,
tries again in the bathroom at one point,
mhm.
and it's funny because the son, I don't think even know, like the son and the daughter, like he basically got both siblings, but I don't think each sibling knows about the other. Which I think is funny. Which to Ilya's credit, I mean, I honestly found myself identifying with the Ilya character more just because he's a survivor and he's like he's pragmatic and he's a navigator. But speaking a little bit because you opened up, I want to mirror that. As far as my own kind of experience, like I'll say that Chicago is underrated as being like a gay friendly city. I would actually say Chicago is a gayer city than San Francisco. I'm sorry. I think that San Francisco gets like the credit, but man, there is Boys Town in Chicago. When I was there, there was Girls Town, not so much anymore. But in my 5 years there, that was my own kind of like, you know, I'll teach you guys a new term here. I was basically a lesbro. Like I had like a big part of my squad, if you will, were lesbians, and I was like you know, I was I don't know, I'm just trying to think of a group of like, there was a whole bunch of like, I don't know, ducks, and they let this like uh other bird hang out with them for a while. Like that's kind of like how I rolled. But what brought us all together was I loved music, I loved dancing, they loved music, they loved dancing, and we all had a good time. And it wasn't about like, oh, if I'm dancing with you, I'm trying to hook up or whatever. It's just like I just like this damn song. Let's get down. So that was kind of like my piece of it. I will say though, and I think this is just a guy thing, honestly, whether you're straight or gay or whatever. Oh yeah, I was absolutely hit on. And I was absolutely like, sometimes guys would sit down in the booth and be mad when they found out that I wasn't gay because I don't present like I'm not a sports guy. I'm not like, that is not who I am. I'm whatever. But at the same time, it was flattering for me, honestly.
Yeah.
So going back to like kind of like some observations I want to make about the show, um, I want to talk about the triumph, and that is of the actors themselves, Hudson Williams as Shane Hollander and Connor Story as Ilya, um, Robanov, I believe.
Yeah, Rosanov,
Rosanov.
Ilya Rosanov.
Ilya Rosanov. My God. First of all, Connor, he's not even Russian, dude. Like, the way he talk Russian. Like that is he actually learned the Russian language and everything, and he's from Texas for crying out loud.
Hmm.
He's only like 23 or 24.
Is he
I think
really
he's a
that young?
star. They're both young.
That's
Um,
really quick. You point that out. Like I remember starting it, and like Shane to me was not believably as young as he looked, as his character was supposed to be. Like to me, he looked older at that time, and that was like, I mean, that's like a nitpick, right? Like that doesn't really affect the show. I just remember looking at him and being like, oh, he looks older than his character.
yeah, he's 24 now. That's Hudson
I
Williams.
mean, that's
And
pretty close. I mean, I don't know. I know baseball and I know football, and I know in football you have to you have to be out of high school for 2 years before you can play professional football. And so
okay.
most players are not under 21. Like it's very rare to get somebody that's even in their, 21, 22 year age because the physical size difference between
Yeah.
NFL and high school is monumental. So most guys, unless they're insanely elite, will spend all 4 years of college. Baseball is different. Baseball, because it's not as like
Contact.
contactually physical, you can be 5'4". If you can hit a baseball and run, you can play. And so but a baseball also has a deeper system. So there's anywhere from 4 to 6 teams at the minor league level with 30 to 50 players on them. So there's a ton of players in professional baseball. So you can come out earlier. I don't know how hockey works. Like I didn't catch their ages in the beginning. Like I know they were getting drafted, right? So that
Yeah.
means they were done with high school or college or whatever. But I don't know if you can get drafted in the NFL straight out of high school or not.
Yeah.
Um, but they're young. Was my long-winded point.
Yes, they're young, and I think and so for both of these actors, it's pretty much like their first like real big roles.
Mm.
And again, this is my personal opinion. I thought they acted their asses off,
Yeah.
both of them. And I think that a lot of the facial expressions that Hudson, aka Shane, would make, like you could really like read the hurt, you could read the love, you could read all the nonverbals, in their scenes. Whereas Ilya, very guarded, very like just believable. I loved how he would call him boring. Like that was like a playful taunt every time that.
Yeah.
But and then he goes like he's boring, and then like Hudson's like or Shane was like at least you have a type. I just thought like if had either of them not like came with such powerful performances, this show would not have been anything. Like they were the heart and soul of what made this show special, and I think that's why. I think the one thing I'll say, despite all the bad things that are happening in the world, I will say that we love to find someone to cheer. We love to find someone to root for. Now, at the same token, we build them up and we tear them down. That's something that we do. But at least right now, we're on the build-up phase. We want to find something to celebrate, and these two guys are being celebrated. I remember the day after we recorded the last episode or 2 weeks ago, they were on the Golden Globes. Like they were literally just
Hmm.
invited to present on the Golden Globes, and they got such a reaction from the crowd. This is not some sort of like fluke thing. It's like a when we're told a story or when we're shown something that is different that has not been done, I think we love it. It's novelty, but it's also a breath of fresh air. Speaking of performances, I also want to give props to Francois Arnault, who plays Scott Hunter. We see like kind of in the earlier episodes, I think it was episode 2 maybe, when they're at the Olympics and then someone says, "Oh yeah, that's not cool here" or whatever. You can see the kind of conflicted look. And Scott seemed to also sort of kind of pick up on what's happening with Shane. So when on the third episode, which reminded me, that whole episode reminded me of episode 3 of The Last of Us. Like it was like I love it when you focus on these two characters here, but then here's this side story, even though it's the first book in the real situation, where he's coming in just to get a smoothie with
Yeah.
banana in it, and Kip's here just as this like, you know, the Star is Born, deer in headlights, like, oh my God,
Totally.
like this guy, but it was all being played so convincingly. But I loved Scott Hunter's performance, and I think everything was earned because at one point he was trying to be brave, he was trying to go after what he wanted, but then when they went to the art gallery to go shopping, he flipped out just because like he just realized I can't do this. And Scott, I don't blame you. I don't blame you. And then the cynical part of me, honestly, was just kind of like, dude, Scott, like stop. It's just you will find another Kip. Like it's okay. Like there's
Right.
life will go on. But I'm glad that, what happened happened and he realized, no, this guy makes me happy and I'm gonna go after like this real connection, even though it was just like love at first sight, I guess.
Yeah.
Kip did a great job too, obviously, and he also has only worked. I mean, the four of them don't have a lot of credits to their names, yet they delivered so powerfully, and I think that that's part of why everyone's rooting for this unlikely smash hit. That
Yeah.
is Heated Rivalry.
Yeah. Speaking of Francois Arnaud or Arnaud, he makes me laugh because the only thing I've ever seen him in was Schitt's Creek. And he plays a total douchebag, like a total up his own ass, like pompous photographer douchebag. And like his like smackdown from David, who's played by Eugene Levy's son, Dan Levy,
Hmm.
is great. It's so good, and that's the only thing I've seen him in. So to see him in this was really kind of refreshing, right? Because you get to see him be like a normal guy, and like you said, he was just a dude going in to get a smoothie. Dude behind the bar doesn't even know who he is, right? Does not know that he is Scott Hunter. He's the shit. He just sees this guy come in. He's kind of cute, so he's like, everything kind of sucks. But if you do this, it's better. And so like they start off with this little bit of banter, and then because Scott thinks he's kind of cute, and then he does this thing that he likes that with the smoothie, he's like, well, now I have a reason to come back, right? And so they have this very natural just connection. And for me, um, funny enough, like I said, I don't really watch romance shows, but like for me, the first two episodes were more carnal, might be the right word. Like they were
Yeah.
still figuring things out, and their
Yeah.
thing was we are learning what we're doing.
Hmm.
We're learning how we fit together. Maybe we're going to agree, maybe we're not. We're not going to be in love and all this. And the second episode with Kip and Scott felt so sweet, and it felt like an actual romance. And it's a different feeling. But for me, I liked that so much more than the first two episodes. And it's not because the first two were bad. It was just a different experience for those two than it was for these two, where Scott very clearly knows he's gay. Kip is out and gay. Like
Yes.
I mean, he is the only character of the four that was very clearly,
Yes.
not afraid to be who he was. And so that made a big difference too.
And going back to what you brought up earlier, it's like that's the problem, right? So being gay is still, I think, a lonely experience because so many other people are closeted that either you have to be okay being like the hidden secret,
Mhm.
which I think was really great that Kip's friend like had his back and was like,
Oh, she
look,
was so great.
like it's killing him, but he's putting up with this because he loves you, right?
Mhm.
So the reason why the dad, who clearly accepts him too, thinks he's getting messing around with a married man is because that's pretty much your only option, either grinder or like closeted married dudes, or just closeted dudes in general. So it wasn't necessarily to be like, oh, you're a homewrecker. It's just that,
Yeah.
and we'll get back to this theme, but like we talked about this in our own chat. Like I think and this is what I said before I watched this, but homophobia hurts us all
Mhm.
because it basically creates secrecy and it creates all this behind your back stuff and it creates misunderstandings and even all the lies that Shane had to do to his parents that at first kind of rocked the boat when they found out what happened. But also in defense of the first two episodes, totally hear you on that as far as like the difference between carnal versus like real feeling, but for me, I think they're both real.
Oh,
And I think
sure,
that
sure.
even in a straight situation or hetero situation, like, yeah, there's that messing around stage, then there's like, we're going to get serious stage. And I just think that I think it's totally fine to show all sides uh, of, 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 of that journey, if you
Yeah,
will.
for sure. And like I said, it's just there was certainly nothing wrong with the performances in the first one. There was nothing wrong with anything. Just like the way that story was unfolded in those parts didn't click with me the same way that the third one did. Like the
Fair.
third one was just again, like to me, it just felt a little more, and maybe I'm sappy this way, but it felt a little more special and a little more magical. Like
1000%.
honestly, it was a fucking Hallmark movie. He walked in, there's the guy from his old hometown, and
Yes.
he's just like, "Hey, buddy," and then they just fall in love. And so yes, it is in its own way a little cheesier, but for me, like it just because there was a lot of angst and you had the background stories that were uncomfortable for the other two, and you had all this stuff that was going against them, right? So you have Shane and Ilya, and they are, if you watch like in those first two episodes, they're really doomed to not work, right? Like that's kind of the thing. Like they have to be super secret. They have to be on the side. Everything's against them. Like realistically, like to make it work, they're too famous. Like they're too famous. They're the two biggest people everywhere they go. They are the two that is talked about. Like everything's stacked against them. Their family. Shane doesn't know what his family would do because he came from a different feeling, but his parents are still very high pressure. Like his
Mhm.
mom was very high pressure. She was not a mean
Stage
lady.
mom.
She was not a bad woman by any stretch, but she was definitely like, let's do this thing. We've got this business thing to take care of all the time. And so Shane, I mean, even from an early age, I have to imagine somebody like LeBron James could identify with this. You're a brand before you're even like playing the game,
Mhm.
right? And so it's like just everything is against them. They're so in the spotlight that it's hard. Whereas Scott Hunter, he's kind of at a point now in his career where he's good. He's really good, but people are coming up behind him that are stealing, like starting to take the spotlight. And he has already navigated this life before. We can see like all these things, and so their relationship was a little different. But it's funny that you said the person you identified with it was Ilya. The person that I
Correct.
identify with was Kip's dad. Like that, 100%, 100%. That's me with my kids, just joking around, giving them, just a little bit of shit about everything they do, but letting them know that like whatever it is, it's cool, man. I mean, that's your life. You're my kid. Let's just be
That's
open and
awesome.
honest about it. And so, yeah, it's just funny. Like that. That's like I said, who I identified the most with out of the whole thing. Um, and then funny enough, I think secondly actually would have been Kip. Like he was a little more kind of mellow and go with the flow kind of guy and hoping for the best.
Kip was
But
the ultimate sweetheart, man. And
yeah.
and I think that another thing I liked about the show, as far as authenticity goes, is so often I think that gay characters are either like the comic relief, like they're kind of funny guys. Like I'm thinking about the Birdcage, I guess. Like that was just
Mhm.
more like, or they're more like a tragic figure. Like and it's not a happy ending. It's like it's gotta be, oh, like this sucks and I committed suicide. I'm thinking about Saturday Night Fever, for example. Like the guy kills himself. He just like jumps off the bridge or whatever. Whew. Anyway, so for this to have a more three-dimensional approach where you've got like this stoic bisexual in Ilya, you've got a very kind of introverted, quiet, I would say badass though, and that is Shane Hollander. Like he's fucking Shane Hollander. That's dope, right? Then you've got like sensitive, like I'm protected by my community Kip, and then you still have like girl, like you still have like kind of the authentic like family. When like that's one another term I learned during my lesbo days. Like, are they family? Like that's like, that the code word for obviously in the umbrella. And that bar was very much about that family. So you did have a bit more of that kind of, like that, what I'm saying? But like that exists. Everyone doesn't have to be like all, whatever uptight, but you're showing variety, and I think that's what you don't necessarily get um, in other depictions. Now I want to go back to what do I want to do? I mean, there's so many places to go here with the show. Um, yeah, I'm just kind of at a loss here as far as where I want to go. But I know we're moving slow. We're marinating because we've already talked about the first. I remember what I was going to say now. I also brought up the idea of how back in like 80, 86, there was a certain movie starring Tom Cruise and Val Kilmer called Top Gun, and how there's this rivalry between these two badasses, and how some people say that there was a homoerotic. I think it might be in a Tarantino movie that brought this up, but there was like the beach ball the volleyball scene was like homoerotic and all this stuff. And to me, it was like in a way heated rivalry is like Top Gun with balls,
For
no pun
sure.
intended,
For sure.
because it's like we're taking this beyond the implied stuff. It's like if you're that like obsessed with beating someone or who they are, I mean, they say hate and love are two sides of the same coin. There's a
Mhm.
strong feeling for them. And they just went with it. And now I'm going to really go geeky. This is a deep cut. If anybody knows what Mobile Suit Gundam is, there are two protagonists. One is Char Aznable, the other is Amuro Ray. And towards the end of the actual series, um, someone says, well, if they hadn't been with Amuro, and it's like, been with Amuro, like a person realizes, does Shar have a thing for Amuro? But they never go beyond it. And I do think I do see Ilya as Shar. Shar is the badass, he's blonde, and Amuro is like the more sensitive, like cooler one. Anyway, I just think that, and it also got me thinking, how much of this is happening in real life? Like
Mhm.
you never know. You really never know. And now I'm going to jump ahead for a second and say that there is something to be said for seeing again yourself in media. It kind of releases you. So when Scott Hunter has his moment on the ice, now that he's got the cup and he's going to retire, that moment absolutely impacts Ilya. Ilya all of a sudden is like, holy crap, this guy just came out. I can come into the cabin with you. Like it was literally just that one moment that makes Ilya less guarded and more open to exploring the idea of spending time with Shane. And yeah, I just think that a show like this, probably the effect that you saw on Ilya watching that TV probably is going to have an effect on real life people in real life situations to say, you know what? I need to maybe embrace this more. And and we're gonna jump around here, but I think one of the most touching moments of the entire show was when Shane says to his mother tearfully, I tried. I really tried with Rose. And she's like, you don't have to apologize for anything. Like, because Shane felt like a failure for being gay.
Yep.
And I think that that is a real thing that I think people probably go through because it's like, I didn't want to be gay. I just am. And now I feel like I'm letting down my parents. I'm letting down whatever. And it's like that was beautiful. I do think that the parents, as annoying as they were for the pretty much the entire show,
Yeah. Yeah.
they came around and were cool as hell, I think,
And
in
and
that last episode.
I think Dylan Walsh is such a great casting for that because he gives off strong heterosexual man. Like, you know what I mean? Like he looks like a guy that if he's your dad, you might be afraid to tell him. Like, you'd be like, shit, dude, my dad, he might not take this the right way. Like, you don't know. And then for his dad to find out the way that he did,
Oh yeah, and then walk away.
yeah. Which, part of me is like, did he just up and leave because he was just like, like
You
was he?
don't know.
Yeah,
At the
because
time you didn't know.
yeah, and so like you worry that he sees this and he's like, oh, fuck, like this is the worst thing that could ever happen. And that's not the case at all. As a matter of fact,
It's the
he's
lie.
he's very um very
Apologetic.
yeah, and very kind to him in that situation. But it is, like I said, a great casting because just watching him and just seeing him on the screen as a person watching, you do worry what he would think if his son came out.
That was
You have the
100%.
mom who is, like you said, the stage mom, that strong, like business forward, this is what we're doing mom. So you worry about what she's going to say. Like, is she going to be like, well, this is going to ruin your brand? Like, all these things. And, um, they were really great. I thought they were really awesome, both of them.
So 2 weeks ago, we talked about how they had girlfriends, and I was kind of drilling into that, and then I
Mhm.
let go because I just felt like I wasn't getting the answers I wanted or needed. But now having to watch the show, they weren't girlfriends. I think that Rose was an attempt to be a
Mhm.
girlfriend, but she figured it out. But again, hilariously, again, she's like, dude, like 90% of the guys I've dated, I was left for another man. So she got it, but I love how she was still very accepting of him.
Mhm.
Um,
That was an amazing scene, actually. The way she
yes.
coaxed it out of him, because this girl, I have only seen her in Yellow Jackets, and otherwise, I haven't seen her in much. Um, but she was really solid in her part too. Like, it
Oh
definitely
yeah.
wasn't as large and dramatic as some of the other ones, but that scene in particular, where she's very, very comforting, and it comes from her experience, obviously, having done this more than once. But she she does such a good job of just making him, like, making it okay for him to say it, and basically saying it for him. Like, really, at any point, he just has to say yes, right? And I thought that was really great. And then afterwards, she's like, "Can we please still be friends?"
Yeah.
Yeah, she's like, "I like you."
You know who she reminded me of?
Mm.
Jennifer Lawrence. I just think that the fact that she was like being painted in blue and she's in this like, kind of Avengers type movie, like she just gave me serious like I know I almost wonder if they were writing her with Jennifer Lawrence in mind because I think Jennifer Lawrence would be the same way. I think she'd be very just matter of fact, approachable, fun,
Yeah.
and real. Now Ilya, man. So I think that basically the sister or the daughter of the coach, she was basically like his best friend with benefits. That's
Hmm.
how I would describe that. And I love how like when his brother called her a whore, like he was ready to just like rip him to shreds, and then she's like, he's not worth it. Because she's the only person that he could really be himself around, and she accepted him. And I love how she even said, "I think Jane's really special," and I hope like she uses the he pronoun, like she knew, and I think she would even drop hints like, "Oh my God, like Shane's so like hot and
Yeah, yeah,
everything."
yeah, yeah.
I think she was kind of messing with him, and
Hmm.
I think that that's like. I respect that. I just think that it's like Ilya is the kind of guy who like he's not dumb and he's
Right.
he knows he's sensitive, but he is very guarded with who he lets in, which is pretty much nobody. I think the only person he let in was her. And then after that, I think the moment I've never seen this moment ever done on TV when Shane so insightfully says, just say what you want to say in Russian. I won't understand it, but maybe it'll make you feel better. And then Shane, I mean, Ilya goes off, like
He
not goes off, but he
unloads.
he he
Yeah.
unloads and talks about how I have no one, and I love
Yeah, I
you.
was gonna
And
say, he
like,
says "I love you" in there, right?
yeah,
And that
like he
hadn't been said between those two before that, right?
no. And it's just like I think that Ilya Ilya has never been really like he's just had a hard life. His dad was like a total a-hole. Like you should be ashamed and all that stuff. Clearly he was such an a-hole that his mom finally was like, I'm out, because like she was just and then the brother is just a a-hole user
Hmm.
cokehead. Like the guy had nothing. And then he's under the Iron Curtain, which basically like has outlawed his very being.
Yeah.
So, he's just yeah, like but again, he's made the best of what he had. And then when he finally was able to like let go, like finally feel safe in Shane's presence, that was the difference. Like, and when he drops the I love you, then when he says like your boyfriend's here, like
Hmm.
when Shane's like freaking out at the table, for a second I thought, uh-oh, like did Shane have an aneurysm or something? Because I know he had a head injury. Like that was a little worried, but I was just glad it was just a freak out. Um, it was just so well told. And so I want to give props to Ksenia, who plays Ksenia Daniela Karlinova, who plays Svetlana. She was a wonderful presence. And
Hmm.
and and, and I bring her up just because no, she was not a girlfriend. She was just his friend who loved him, but loved him enough to not ask more of him than what she got. And I
Yeah.
think that takes a lot of integrity.
Yeah.
She was his lifeline.
Yeah. Yeah. I think, yeah, like I said, she was the person that was there through it all. And maybe he wasn't totally open with her about everything because he's still
Yeah.
such a guarded person, but I think she knew more about him than anybody else by a long way. And like you said, loved him either way. And then that's a big deal. And I think, you need that. And I think the strongest ally otherwise was Kip's friend. You talked about her earlier. And the thing that she said too,
Elena.
that she said to Scott was when they were dancing, she's like, she's talking about how much it's killing him. She's like, but he deserves to be happy. And then she said, but so do you.
Yeah.
She's very clearly like, she's not attacking Scott.
No.
She's like, this isn't your fault. This is the world you live in, but there's real, like, there's a person in the middle of this that you've got to figure out, or, there's genuine pain involved here. And she pointed that out in such a great way, that I really liked her part in that also.
So another concept I learned during my Lesbro days was the term breeders. So basically in Boys Town and Girls Town, whatever, like when people would be walking around with their strollers, like, oh yeah, they're breeders. And especially I think it was more of a male thing, like the gay men thing versus like even lesbians, because I think but anyway, and I felt like the Callan Potter character, Hayden, who was like the teammate who had like I think 4 or 5 kids, was
Yeah.
always trying to like I found him to be insufferably annoying. And I think that that's kind of like you know, and I liked that because I don't know if like quote unquote hetero people like have ever seen themselves in that kind of light where it's like you think you're normal, but you're actually kind of annoying with all the assumptions you make about the people around you, assuming everyone's just like you and you should just, see my wife's friend and hold this kid and all that stuff. It was just like it was wow, it was a lot. I
That
couldn't
scene was
stand that guy.
so funny though when he's got the baby and she's like, "Can you hold Shane's baby so I can get his autograph?" He's like, "What the fuck is happening?"
Yeah.
But yeah, but you're right. You're right. Like, and I think this happens. It's so hard to remember, even for people that care and are trying to be open. It's so hard to remember to open yourself up to the fact that people aren't going through the same thing you are, right? And there's the adage about everyone you meet is fighting a battle that you don't know about, right? And so I think that is very hard to remember, hard to kind of deal with because you just don't know. Like it's literally like the unknown.
You don't know what you
And
don't know.
like, yeah, and how do you know the right way to talk to people if you don't know that they have this different thing, right? Like he expects everybody to want to be married and have kids and all that. Um, but I feel like he wasn't a bad guy.
At
Like
all. At all.
if now the question, would he have been okay with Shane being gay? I don't know.
I'm not sure.
But if he was, that he would have been he would I don't think he would have thrown that, put all that stuff in his face. But because he didn't know, what's he going to do? He's going to talk about the only thing he knows. But yeah, he was, to me, he was a funny character. He was almost like comic relief,
But yes, 1000%.
because he was so oblivious to the things going on. But I think too, I think some of that obliviousness probably exists in the real world. To be fair,
Oh my dude, yes.
I think there's a 0% chance that there's no gay people in sports. 0%. There are gay people playing sports right
Yes.
now,
Yes.
no question.
Yes.
And I guarantee you, there's somebody next to them in the locker room that is so blind that they don't even get the hint. And there's somebody on the other side that's looking at it and is at least wondering. You know what I mean? Like it could be, whatever. But I think especially in sports, there's probably a willful blindness too, right? Like you don't want to see this and you don't want to know this because it changes your whole worldview, and you're not ready for that. And I think that was the thing that makes what Scott does so brave,
Yes.
right? When he has that moment, he really is saying, "Fuck it, it's all on the line here, and you take me for what I am." But he's like, "I'm picking this dude." Now, granted, he waited until he won the cup, right? Like he
Because he
waited
was
until,
pragmatic. I totally,
yeah.
I 1,000 gajillion. I'm so glad you brought that up too, by the way, because I also remember making a point 2 weeks ago that sounded harsh, but now I'm so effing vindicated and validated. And what I said was the difference between the guy who played for, I think, Green Bay, the NFL guy,
Michael Sam.
Michael Sam was, he came out as gay and that didn't really go over so well. And what I said was, I went back to Jackie Robinson, another barrier breaker, and said, Jackie was really good, wasn't he?
Hmm.
And basically this show was not about like gay players who were like okay, or gay players who are like pretty good. No, dude, this show was about the titans of the fucking game. I just cursed because I have to like enjoy my rightness because I'm an INTJ and we love to be right. But it's like Connor and Hudson were like basically jockeying for number one and number two, right? And then Scott was basically like a sort of has been, but was able to come back and actually get the thing. So my point stands, which is difference in and of itself, it doesn't matter because the point is not to focus on what makes you different. The point is to de-alienate the difference, to make the difference not like the defining factor, but a factor that should be included in the definition of whatever excellence is.
Yep.
So that's what the point is. And I'm glad that Tierney, I think it was Jason Tierney who wrote this, Jacob Tierney got that.
Yeah.
It's like there could be some really mighty people out there right now that you don't even know. Like you might think of gayness as weak or whatever, but you're just so wrong. And this may be fiction in the show, but it probably isn't. And if anything, being the best might make it harder to come out, which is
Hmm.
why Scott waited as long as he did. So, anyways, I again, I'm just gonna pat myself on the back. Y'all can hate me, but like, I didn't even see the damn show, and my point was absolutely not only agreed with, but kind of emphasized. So, yeah, just wanted to like celebrate that.
Yeah, yeah, and I mean, you're right. Like, if you take somebody, to be fair, we really have very few real life examples of this. Michael Sam being one of the biggest ones, right? But
I have more to say on that, by the way, but keep going.
he was a very good college athlete. And being a very good college athlete does not mean you're great. He was projected to get drafted in like the middle of the draft, and there's only 7 rounds of the NFL draft. So he was like third or fourth round. Then he went to the scouting combine where they literally run you through how high can you jump, how fast can you run, can you catch it, can you do these things? There's the 40-yard dash. There's literally they put you through this thing that all the coaches are at to watch you show your peak athleticism, right? He did not do well there, and
Mm.
he ended up getting drafted in the 7th round. And so, ultimately, when he came out, there was a thing like he actually the year he came out, he had the best selling jersey in the NFL for a rookie, not
Oh,
for all NFL players. So there was support there, um, but he just ultimately wasn't that great at the time, and so he left the NFL after a season, I think.
wow.
Went and played in Canada for a little bit in the Canadian Football League, where he was accepted, but he ultimately left for psychological reasons, like So I think it took its toll there. And then I just read that he ultimately ended up in Europe doing the Europe Football League as a player and coach as of just a few years ago. So like he kept football in his life, and I don't think that being gay is what impacted his career. I think it just didn't help that he wasn't great. He wasn't like an all-star. And there's, again, and the NFL, just to put the numbers out there is somewhere around 60 players on a team. I don't remember the exact number, 60 players, and there's 32 teams.
Yeah,
That's only 180 players. Now they have like a practice squad and there's some extras here and there. But if the NFL they draft 200 players a year, give or take. It's more than that because there's 32 teams in 7 rounds, so 200 and something. Um, but that's every year out of a league that only has so many people, and a handful of them retire every year, and a handful come in. It is a hard league to make it in. It is a very hard league to make it. So I mean, by the definition of him getting drafted, he's already rare, right? Like if you got drafted in
sure.
the NFL, you're a lucky guy. Like it's rare. So like that's not against him, but he
No.
still had an uphill battle to climb, and there was just people better than him. And there's a lot of um, things that get in the way of sports. Like people talk about politics and people talk about homosexuality and these things, but sometimes they matter and sometimes they don't. And with him, obviously, like it wasn't the end of like it didn't make people upset that he was gay. Maybe teammates. I never really saw the backlash from that. But the fact that his jersey was the number one selling rookie jersey that year
Yeah,
says a lot. Like there's a
it
lot of
does.
support out there for it. Um, but you take somebody like Colin Kaepernick, who played for the San Francisco 49ers. He had a couple of really good years in the beginning of his career. Um, I never liked Colin Kaepernick because I thought he had kind of an ego. That was my only problem with him. But what happened was his game was very centered around a very specific way that he played. And when people started to figure that out, his numbers went down. He
Mm.
did not play as well. But that coincided with the whole take a knee thing.
Okay.
And so he got lambasted for this. And then everybody talked about how he was blackballed from football. But the fact is, or one of the facts is, he wasn't playing that well. And so like people were like, oh, he should come back and sign with somebody. But nobody was actively out there trying to sign him back because he wasn't that great anymore. Like the thing that made him special kind of wore off. And so, for me, like when he did the knee and then the rest of the league did the knee, he got focused on because he was just at that point where he was falling off. So he was still the name, like he was the big shiny guy. And he took all the heat for it. I never like for me, I never had a problem with him taking the knee. I his ego kind of bothered me, like I said, because he was just too like he would run off the sidelines and then kiss his bicep in front of everybody. I was like, dude, come on. But like he's very outspoken politically, and I don't think that maybe that hurts you in football. I don't know. A little bit, I think it does because I think there's a very conservative.
I have a lot to say.
Yeah, I mean, one of the biggest sports or biggest states for football in the entire country is Texas. So I
Yes.
mean, that says something, right? Um, but yeah, I think you you're right though. Like the greatness doesn't necessarily um make it different one or the other, but for people to continue to talk about it, there has to be that greatness involved because Michael Sam was a story. He got drafted in, came out as gay. He was recognized by the president of the United States of America, Mr. Barack Obama. Like he was, it was the thing. It was a story, but he didn't have the ability to run with that story,
No
right?
pun
And
intended.
then of course there's always going to be people that say, "Oh, well, he didn't make it any further
Because he
because
was
he got
gay.
blackballed." But
Yeah,
the real fact is, there was just people that were better than him.
correct.
Um, but again, that doesn't make what he did any less impressive. He still got drafted in the NFL. My fat ass couldn't do that. Like there's so many people that try their whole life, maybe even get to college and they can't make the NFL. This guy did all of that. He just didn't have that extra thing. And to say that, being gay kept him out is probably unfair. I can't say. Like I said, I don't know what happened in the clubhouses. I don't know how he was treated. But yeah, he's still in football, or at least it was as of 2023, which is a special thing too. He did not give up on that.
I do think, I'm gonna be controversial here. I do think that there is a certain strain of humanity that gets off on being a victim. Sorry.
True.
And I think that I'm not for it. And I think that lot of yeah, I do think there's a lot of people I think who happen to be black who would agree and say trying to somehow get power from focusing on victimhood is whack. And I do think that the quote unquote identity politics thing is kind of in that vein, and I think that's whack. It just is. As a matter of fact, I might even, if I would go as far to say, if I was gay, I might be like, Michael Sam, I don't want you representing me, dude. Like, I want somebody a bit more badass. Nothing against you, man. But now let's get to where I was going to go. And that is when someone said the NHL is like this masculine bastion of homophobia. And in my head, I'm like, I think the NFL is probably the most masculine sports league in the world. Certainly most conservative, and I think you were kind of leaning on that.
Mhm.
And then I decided to say so I tried to use like Chat GPT or whatever like because I can have my gut feel and I yes you know me I think I have a pretty good pulse on like everything so but there's no way to prove it per se so I go ahead and try it and of course they list football but they also list rugby and even NHL whatever homophobia but then I thought to myself okay what's another metric I can go after what is the biggest league in the world? What is the most profitable league in the world? What's the
Soccer.
biggest? Actually, no, it's the NFL. The NFL makes
Yeah, I could see
more
that.
money
I can see
than
that.
any other thing in the world. The Super Bowl is the biggest sporting event in the world. It is.
I thought F1 racing was actually, well, event, yes, the Super Bowl, but I thought auto racing was actually larger worldwide.
Well,
Off
we
my
can do
head,
it
it
again,
just, yeah, it
but
doesn't
for as
matter.
far as
But
revenue goes, it's the NFL. So to me, I think I basically would say, of course, like this is plausible in hockey because I also think that Canada in general is a bit more gay friendly and Europe is way more gay friendly. So even is it Michael Sam you said? Is
Michael
that his
Sam,
name?
yeah,
Even Michael Sam's trajectory again supports what I already fucking know. You left the US because we don't play that shit, no pun intended, as far as being gay, like in sports,
yeah.
not really. You go to Canada, you do a little better, but then you go to Europe where being bisexual is like not a big deal at all, you know? So it's like I just think that, you know, I'm being real. Like Rachel Reed said she wrote the book because homophobia in NHL and hockey culture really bothered her. So she wanted to write this book. But to me, it's like, all right, just but don't pick on the NHL and whatever. It's like I do think that there are worse leagues in the NHL like the NFL. But I think that overall, props still. Oh, I gotta say something. You are from Halifax, Nova Scotia. You live in Bedford, Canada. Guess where I went to elementary school? Halifax. So props to you for kind of like proving that Nova Scotia is not just some weird place that shoot, there's a
Oak Island.
comedian. No, besides Oak Island, there was this blonde blonde comedian who was ribbing Ethan Hawke on her talk show about this. One second. Leah is like screaming this person's name at me right now. Hey, Leah, what's up? Chelsea Handler. So
Oh,
Chelsea
okay.
Handler was like, "Why are you going to Nova Scotia? What's up there?" Like she's like talking about Nova Scotia like it's some sort of like weird place. But anyway, it was all the news in Nova Scotia. But anyway, going back to Rachel. Rachel, props to you for making this happen. But I just want to say, um, I think the NHL is it probably is masculine and all that, but I do think the NFL out masculines it.
Yeah.
I'm also going to go on another.
No,
Okay,
I was gonna say, I'd like as a guess, if I was just gonna order like the leagues in like how accepting they would be, I think NFL would be probably the least,
yes,
maybe then NBA,
yes,
then NHL, then baseball, then soccer.
yeah.
Like that would be my guess. Like
I agree
I
with that
I'm
completely.
I'm more surprised that at this point there haven't been like out baseball players. Um, just because it's like I don't know, there's been a few women that have tried to get into the sport, some that have come close, um, and I think they all try to make their progress, like they try to be better, um, but I do think that soccer again because it's so European, sorry, football is so European. Yeah, I think there being a gay athlete, and as a matter of fact, I know you are a strange individual and didn't love Ted Lasso, but there's a gay character in Ted Lasso that has an
There
entire
you go.
coming out scene, and the team is very accepting of it, and there's some. Like there's the one guy, the big, of course, the gay guy's a white guy, and there's the big burly black dude who cuts everybody's hair and, talks tough all the time. And dude comes out and he's like, uh, I forget exactly what happens, but there's definitely like a moment where he's like, you get that kind of like what the fuck feel, but it's because he didn't just come to him and tell him, not because he was gay, but because he didn't just like because they were close, but
Yeah.
he never told him, and he's like, dude, I was here, like
Aw.
would have been here for you. So like it's um there's levels of acceptance, right? And I think um I hope we get there someday where it just doesn't matter. Um, but it's not a short road if we do. Like it's just not. And to be fair, it shouldn't matter. If I'm playing a sport and the best dude available, if there's anything different about them, I don't, I mean, unless they're out, eating babies or something weird, I want that person on my team and I want to be a good teammate to that person because that's what makes sports work well is working as a team. So it's a great thing to see, and I love how near the end of the show they start talking about their future in the sport still, right?
Hmm.
They're talking about what they're going to do, and Ilya talks about maybe coming to play for them, and Shane's like, maybe you should go play for the other Canada team.
Ottawa.
Yeah. And he's like, we'll still be in the same area. We can still do all these things, but like we're still kind of shielding it. Like we can see each other all the time. And then he comes up with the idea of the um
Nonprofit.
nonprofit, right? So that they can interact more and they can, and like part of that idea too is that should they decide to come out someday, they have this whole now safer kind of backstory about when it started and all that. But yeah, it's just interesting to see like the mental gymnastics you have to do for yourself in that situation to make life workable when it's probably not going to be, even with what Scott did. Now we're left, and there's still stuff to talk about before this, but at the end of the show, they're just kind of riding off into the sunset, right? Like
Hmm.
they're they're signed up for a season two of the show. I
Correct.
don't know if those two are. Um, and
Yeah. Keep on, sorry.
I worry a little bit about what story they're going to tell. You know,
There'll be new characters. So I
is it
did
going to
like
be
so
like
that.
Beefish, like
Yeah.
okay, so
Yeah.
anthology.
Yes, but it'll be all the same universe. So I do think that we are going to see a more like the other guys will pop in, but we're going to be introduced to probably like I even said there's going to be new younger players coming up. So I feel like we are going to see some new characters in the second
Okay,
season.
it's not going to branch out into other sports. It's going to stick in hockey. You think?
It's a very well if it's sticking to the book series is obsessed with hockey.
Okay, okay, then
But
I would
I
assume so.
do think that dude, I think you're yeah, I think it'd be amazing if they branched out.
Yeah, yeah, and I actually love the idea of it being in the same universe because you can deal with the effects of what
Hmm.
this explosion was like. I mean, this is a thing. Like this is now a world altering thing that happened. And that's the thing too about what Scott does is he doesn't come out in a press conference and say, he pulls a dude down onto the ice in the biggest moment in the game and kisses the dude in front of everybody. Like he's like, not only am I doing this thing, but this is the guy, like I am coming out for this man in front of all of you. Like there's an implication there that he really cares about this guy.
Do you know what I loved about that scene? It was believable because he's watching all these other people, families and loved ones kind of gather on the ice, and he's just there by himself. So I do think it was a bit of a spur of the moment thing. It
Yeah,
was like, you
yeah,
know what? I deserve to be happy too.
yep,
And this is the person I want to share this moment with me. I
yep,
thought it was beautiful.
yeah,
And I don't think you have to be gay to like get that.
yeah,
You know? And
a
I
hundred
think that's
percent.
the genius of what this show does. It sucks I have to use a word like humanize, but it humanizes the gay experience or universalizes is a better word. Universalizes the gay experience for everyone. There's a window in. And now I'm gonna go from deep and profound to like superficial as hell. I'm sorry. These dudes all look good. They all like are handsome people. They all give me like complexes. I gotta hit the gym. I'm sorry. Like they make looking like buff and everything like natural. Even a guy that works Kip. Kip is like brolic. He's like all ripped or whatever, but
Yeah,
that's a stereotype. But because like, the gay dudes, because like we're guys and we're all
yeah, yeah,
individual. But even Kip's ass is like buff. So anyway, I bring all that up to say, yes, of course women are going to love this show because they get to watch, as Lauren mentioned on several occasions, they get to watch physically appealing guys getting down. But the best part about it, and I read this in some other critique, was that for women who might feel like threatened or whatever, like they're not in there. It's like we get to watch all this physicality, but we're not even here. We're truly voyeurs. We now get to have the female gaze versus being the male gaze, where it's usually the woman who's objectified with her boobs out and everything in like a love scene. So, I guess kudos to like the savviness of the production for making sure that all your protagonists were good looking and buff, and like even shooting the scenes in a way that totally maximizes their flesh without scaring people off
yep,
with phalluses,
yep.
you know?
Yeah, it definitely walked a line that I guess you can call safe. Like, I mean, like it was definitely like,
Suggestive.
yeah, graphic is the wrong word. Like
It
it
is the
really
wrong
is
word.
because there there's otherwise nothing there that you haven't seen in any other show. It just happened to be a man and a woman instead of two men.
Correct.
And I don't think, um, I don't think it was gratuitous. I don't think it was. I mean, it was a lot. Like it's definitely like steamy, but like that is like a thing. What actually I saw fascinated me today. There's a whole study right now about how Gen Z is actively asking
Yes.
for less sex um, in film. And so, I wonder, obviously not now. I don't think it'll impact the next couple of years, but I wonder if we're going to start to see that kind of reduce because we definitely over the years, before Game of Thrones, but I know Game of Thrones is one that like everybody talked about. There's a lot of sex and a lot of nudity in those shows. I think Spartacus was before that. Spartacus, I think, had a lot in it also. But like HBO really pushed that envelope. And I actually think this show in particular didn't push it as far as some of those other shows. It's just what they're selling here is something that is maybe a slightly harder public sell. We're saying this is normal and this is okay, which is what I've always said. One of the things that I loved about Schitt's Creek, David is gay, but it's never like the focus of the show. It's not about him being gay. It's just the way he is. It's just the way he is, the way his family is. There's a great scene because he's not totally gay. Like he's sort of like Ilya, right? Like he's okay with being with women too. And there's this whole scene about him talking about wine, and he's like, it's not about the label. It's about like it was basically like it's not about the color of the wine. It's about the way that it tastes, or something like basically like it's the moment that matters and the person that matters, not how they're labeled. Like he's not necessarily into women, he's not into men. He'll do either one, whatever. But like the brilliance of that and taking something like this, like you said, humanizing may not quite be the right word, but like normalizing and saying, yeah, this is what like this is just a thing. Like it's just there and it's happening whether you like it or not, right?
Mhm.
Like and yeah, I think but yeah, it wasn't overly gratuitous. It wasn't there. It was a lot. Like it happened a lot. They were
There
very,
was a lot of, I think the
but
thrusting was a little, but I think if
but
anything,
well, it's just like dudes. I mean, we're horny guys. Like guys. There's a line from Superstore that always makes me laugh because there's this character named Marcus who's a total dipshit, total idiot, right? But at one time he's like, "Man, I wish I was gay." He's like, "Can you imagine two dudes, all gas, no brakes?" And it's just like it's hilarious. But but yeah, like
yeah.
just generally speaking, and it is general because there are definitely a lot of women that enjoy their activities too. But like guys are very like sexual, right? And so you put two dudes together,
No,
yeah,
you're a
they're
thousand
gonna.
percent. I also learned the term lesbian bed death from my lesbro days. So yes,
I've heard
it's
that
like I
too.
mean it's exactly. So
Hmm.
yes, it's a thing where yeah, women are just not as fixated on the act as dudes are. That's why there's Grinder. I don't know if there's a lesbian app like Grinder,
I'm
but
sure there
there is
is.
Grinder. Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm sure. But even the bars, like lesbian bars are much harder to find than gay bars.
Hmm.
Um but yeah, but I was just gonna say like yes, it was suggestive and definitely, but again, it's like how often do you see that? And I think it's important for, people to see themselves and I think, sex scenes or whatever it's just part of life. And, would I feel like comfortable watching those scenes with my parents? Hell no. Like it's definitely
Yeah.
like a little much. And then it's almost like so it definitely I think challenges even if you're like seriously homophobic, I bet you those scenes would be very hard to watch. I'll just
Oh,
say that.
sure, sure. You know
Um
what though? Probably for reasons that those people aren't prepared for.
I
I,
already know where
I
you're going.
yeah,
They're like, uh-oh,
yeah,
do I like this?
yeah. They're like, this is not okay. Yeah, I do. I think in homophobia, I think there's at least
Right.
a not insignificant number of people that would watch this and be like, no, I hate this, and then turn around and watch it when absolutely nobody's around, right? Because it makes them feel wrong, right? Because that's just who they are. But um, yeah, it's just it's love is love, man.
So one of the other scenes I really loved was when Ilya sees Shane with the actress with Rose Landry, and he's like pissed.
Hmm.
I was like, look at you, Ilya. Look at yo ass. Like you're always cool, too cool for school, making Shane, who's always all he's ever wanted was your love. And Shane even was like, we didn't even kiss. Like that's the one thing about Shane, right? It's like, yes, the reason why I didn't like Shane is because like I'm like, you're such a pussy, man. Like,
He's soft
like
for
like
sure.
you're so soft. Like, stop it. It's like treat him mean, keep him keen. I'm sorry, I'm keeping it real. Like, I feel like when you are too nice, you cause involuntary lack of attraction. It's a thing. That's what the nice guy is. I'm sorry. Some
Hmm.
people are like, no, there's no such thing as a nice guy. But it's like, nah, if you're nice and boring, boring. He even called him boring. But like, anyway, so to see this player actually get mad and be like, I need to get late. Let's go to the club, And then like they go to the club and like he sees Shane with Robin, and then he just finds this girl who's all about him, and he's just kind of like, just like, whatever, like you can kiss on me, but I'm gonna stare at you, Shane. Like I just loved that. It's like, man, like no, Shane, like he loves you too. And I just love those kinds of scenes where there's just a relation. I bet you Ilya didn't even expect he would react like that. Like he did not expect that visceral of a reaction.
Hmm.
And I loved even again when Ilya talks about maybe I could come to the US and marry Svetlana, so I could use her. And Shane's tearing up and he's like, don't do that. And I just there's something jealousy doesn't lie. I think that's what I like about it. I like seeing jealousy because jealousy is like it doesn't care if you want to deny your feelings. Them feelings are effing there. And I think that both actors were able to depict that like really well. So when they finally end up at the cottage, because of Scott's bravery, you finally start to see them like really bond. And
Hmm.
I think that was a beautiful thing.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think it does play such a great contrast between the first two episodes and the last two episodes, right? Like, like I said, the first two, for whatever reason, weren't my jam. Like and again, maybe I'm just sappy because Scott and Kip's made me smile like the whole time, but then to see them finally grow and finally be able to say, look, not only do we have these feelings, but we're going to try and build on this a little bit. And I think their hand was forced a little bit. For a minute there, maybe they were just playing house and they weren't quite sure what they were going to do. But as soon as his dad became part of it, like I think that was like the moment that became real, real, right? And then they're like, now we have to deal with this story and explain it to somebody. And if you have to explain it to somebody, you have to understand it, right? You can't explain what you're doing if you don't understand. It's like if you have a teacher that doesn't understand what they're teaching, they're a shitty teacher, right? They're
Yeah.
just not going to be able to do it. So these two have to know how they feel so they can explain how they feel to his parents. And what made me laugh and smile the most was how like gentle Ilya was after in that whole bit, right? Like he was very calm and very much explaining the situation.
Do you want me to come? Like, like, do you want me to come with you? Like, even the fact that like he was like, I can come with, I know you're freaking out right now. Like it solidified. And I thought you were gonna say laugh. Like I was laughing where they're like, how long has this been going on?
Yeah,
And then
yeah.
she's like,
The
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 All-Star
whole table
game.
scene, the whole scene with Ilya there at the table with the parents. I loved that scene because it was like this whole other version of him that's been
Yes.
kept off to the side for so long. But like you see that, yeah, he's not a bad guy at all,
No.
and he really cares. Like he
Yes.
really cares for this guy. And
And their feet touch together under the table the same way at the press
yes,
conference
in the very first
when
press conference, yeah.
where like I think he was asking Ilya a question and then Shane just had his back. He's like, no, I'm gonna answer this for you, like or
Hmm.
just answer for myself and take the heat off.
Yeah.
There was all keep going, I'm sorry, I just had to
Yeah, no,
like
no, no, 100%. And I just think that table moment was maybe one of the sweetest moments in the whole thing because it
thousand
was
percent.
you 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 turn Ilya into a person. Like he becomes like the full set of emotions, right? Instead of being the guy that has to guard himself and has to protect himself from everything and have to go through all this. I think it does come out of having to explain yourself, having to say this is what happened, and being asked those questions that nobody would know to ask, like how long has this been going on? How do you feel? Like da 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 da. All these things that matter, and if you can answer those with your full heart, then this is a real thing.
I just loved how the mom was like, "Wait, so what were you then?" He's like, "Lovers or whatever." She's like,
Yeah,
"No one
they're
ever
like
say that
no.
word again." Like the dad knew. Like, so what, if
Yeah.
you guys weren't like together, then what were you doing? And the dad's already like, because he's like, "Yeah, I get it," you know. But the mom's just like oblivious. Now here we go. Representation, and I hope everyone listening to this podcast is enjoying this because we haven't really talked about the plot, have we? We're just talking about, we're analyzing the damn show, and I think it's been really fun. And we're almost at the 2 hour mark, I think, or something like that. And I think we've covered a lot. But now we're going to cover something about that I care about, and it's about representation. So one of the things that I thought that really made this show come off was the fact that the writer and director of the show does happen to be a gay man. And I'm sorry, I do think that lived experience can't be faked or duplicated. There's a certain sensibility that I think him being involved as a director and a writer, that's part of what made this so authentic. Now, do I think that the whole romance part was probably helped out by Rachel Reed? Yeah, I do. That's her jam. So it's kind of like that gumbo of romance, that, straight women love with the layers that the gay man experience comes together. Now, there's two ways to look at this, and I'd almost love to hear what you guys have to say. And if you guys leave me hanging, then oh well, it was worth a try. And that is, does it matter that the actors Connor Story and Hudson Williams were gay or not? Now, I'm watching those love scenes and I'm just being real. Like, I know that Brokeback Mountain happened, which I think was a tragedy, by the way. But anyway, Brokeback Mountain happened, and there were some pretty steamy scenes between, as far as we know, two straight actors, right? Connor and Hudson were so like into it. I was like, if you guys were actors and you're straight, then kudos to you. But I feel like if you're anyway, so on one hand, I think the official narrative is I think the director doesn't want, he's like it doesn't matter. But if straight guys are acting as gay guys, then couldn't they have found some gay guys to do the roles? I don't know. So I think you can kind of see it both ways. What are
Yeah.
your thoughts, Kevin?
Yeah, I agree. I think there has to be, you still have to have chemistry and you still have to
Or
have
bi?
talent. Yeah,
Sorry.
you have to have chemistry, you have to have talent. Those two things have to be apparent on screen. And to be fair, those two things were very apparent on screen. Um, like they did have chemistry and they were
Oh
excellent
yes.
actors. Now I don't know if they were going for specific looks from these guys because even though is it Connor that played Ilya? I don't remember. I didn't get the
Yes.
actors' names. I'll make sure I'll get them right. Um, he dude looks Russian. I'm sorry.
Yes.
Maybe he's not, but he looks Russian. And then Shane, um, he's half white and half
Korean. In
Korean.
in the show, he's half Japanese, but yes.
Yeah. And dude, he somehow looks Canadian to me. Like he's just so like yeah, you still have to get these looks and you have to do these things, and then you have to find people that fit those. I think I would hope that they're gay. Like, are they gay in real life or are they straight?
I looked, man, and it's inconclusive. So we don't know.
I can say that if they're not, they. I mean,
Could have fooled me.
I have one, and my face has never been that close to a penis. So like, I don't, it even if you're comfortable with everything, and this happens in heterosexual scenes too, even if you're comfortable with yourself and what you do, sometimes those things are just weird anyways. Like, And like if you read up on what guys have to wear in sex scenes, like I mean, there's very little between, Shane's face and dude's, you know, crotch. And I did love how Ilya turned that around on Shane when he was on the phone and he was trying to talk to I think it was
Thank
the dude
you.
with the kids,
And
right?
by the way, oh no, keep going. No, I thought you were talking about something else. Something.
And
Oh yeah, it was
Shane,
to do with it again.
yeah,
Okay, that's why I identify. I'm sorry. That is absolutely some ish I would do. Like I'm sorry. Like I if I just to be playful. Like if
yep,
my girl like
yeah,
talking like
stir up
someone,
some shit.
I just
Yeah,
want to like yeah, I want to like
yeah,
see like yeah.
yeah. I
That
wanna.
was a great moment. But
It
sorry.
was,
Yes.
it was so like fucking like teenager and childish, but so great at the same time. Like 100%. Like I think anybody that is playful, anybody that is having fun and is a little bit of it too, is like, why aren't you paying attention to me? Like I'm right here.
And I love how, and it could have been improvised, but I love how the Shane character then gets up and sits up on the couch to almost like make it easier for him to
Yep.
continue with his shenanigans.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Yeah. That was hilarious. And that was like just such a, I don't, that's the thing. Like I said, it's such a normal thing. Like it is childish and all that, but like girls have done it to guys all the time. Guys have done it to girls all the time. So obviously guys are going to do it to guys. Like it, it just, it worked. It was a fun moment. And just to watch Shane be like, fuck, 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 fine. It's like,
hang
just,
up. I'll call.
eh.
Amazon's at the door. I'll call you later. Click. Um,
And then afterwards be like, you dick. Just like, you son of a
yeah,
bitch.
it was perfect.
Yeah.
And then the last thing I'll say is as far as just again representation. So the mom was great. Her name's Christina Chang. I just found myself a little confused because I'm like, you to me look like you're mixed Asian, not like full on Japanese,
Mm.
right? So I look her up and it's like she's half Filipina, Thai, or yeah, Thai and American, aka I think what they meant to say was
The
white.
white. Yeah.
And it's just kind of like, huh? Like, so I feel like, come on, man. Like, try to like hit all your marks, you know? And yes, I'm being a little bit of a dick here, but I feel like when your boy Coogler, who's been nominated for 16 Oscars for Sinners, I think when Coogler invites the whole world in, because he does feature Native Americans, he does
Hmm.
feature Asians and blacks. He basically tries to make everything authentic. He doesn't mess up anything. And there were indeed, I didn't know this, but again, a boy, not a boy, but like a friend of mine from high school said, my relatives were Chinese and they're from the South and they have Southern accents. So it's a real thing, right?
Yeah.
So come on, like you hit all the marks for the gay stuff, but then you cast like different ethnicities to play different like I don't know about that. But anyway, that's my only kind of critique. Again, not the
The,
main conceit of the show, but I that's the only part I might say like do better.
the other thing to keep in
Um
mind too, when it comes to that, there's a whole casting side of it, right? And it is entirely possible that for whatever reason, an agent saw this script and told their actor and be like, "This is not. This is dangerous," right? Because it is something that is so new. Like I can see somebody that isn't.
oh, rolling the dice.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That is not risk or that is risk averse.
Mhm.
Is going to say, I don't want my actors to take on this because it will define them, for a long time. If this flops, you're always going to be part of that flop. And and these two succeeded, but now you got to ask, like, are they going to be like they if they're okay, if they're straight, they need to go out and take a role that is completely different just for the sake of having it in their repertoire so they don't get always
Typecast.
pigeonholed into this role and typecast. Um, and but I like I say that, but like, is it fair to tell a gay actor that they don't have to do that because they can just continue to play gay roles and that'll be great for them? But like, gay actors play straight people all the time, and so
Absolutely.
like, it's such a weird like tightrope to walk. I think they should. Yeah, I do think the representation should have mattered. I think they probably could have. She should have probably not been half Asian if unless Shane is quarter Asian, and we just didn't
Right.
hear that, which would be fine. Um, but yeah, I think. That probably could have been a little more spot on. Like I said, ideally, like in a perfect world, all those actors, our main actors, are actually gay. Like that would be like the perfect thing because you should, you know, play the role. It's like, you don't, you don't cast a man in a woman's part, to because all you have is men around. You try and figure it out, right? Um, and so it's tough. If you look at something like um, Reservation Dogs, which takes place, it's a Native American show. Taika Waititi made it, but they cast entirely Native Americans. And as a matter of fact, they went into a very specific area of the country to make sure that they got only Native Americans. And it's just like you kind of have to do that stuff right. To be fair, I don't think they talked about Shane's race a lot in the show, did they?
Well, it's funny because, like, again, 2 weeks ago, that was brought up pretty saliently in our first discussion. So as I watch it now, yeah, not really. I mean, I think it was more of like I was one of two Asian kids in hockey and I was kind of bullied or whatever, but I had my name was like a regular name. So the other
Yeah,
kid didn't like him because he wasn't picked on as much as he as, whatever.
yeah.
But outside of that, not really. And then I think Connor also said, or Ilya, I keep calling them by their real names. Ilya does say something about like you got the Japanese side because that's what makes him look like good looking or whatever. So, but besides that, I mean, no. But I
Yeah.
remember like that was brought up in our first discussion as like, oh well, you can't be gay because these Asian kids like it's important you're the first Asian hockey player or whatever. I'm like, nah, it's not really. That wasn't the point.
Yeah, that would definitely be a implied takeaway, if you got that. But I didn't see that really discussed. Now, granted, I mean, there was definitely like again, kind of that Tiger momish feel. Like she definitely wanted her little boy to succeed, and like she was never unsupportive. Like I don't think that
Correct.
was a thing, but she was definitely, like I said, very
A little
business
overbearing.
oriented, very
Yeah.
business like how's your deal with Rolex? Are they taking care of you? Da da da. Da,
She was
all these
even
things.
like, they could spin this. Like she's already turning the gayness
Yeah, yeah.
into like an advantage. Like
Yep.
she's
Like I
that's
did
fine.
they talk about her career? Because she felt like a lawyer to me.
No, I think she was a legit stage mom. Remember when she was talking about let's go to like some country because like they don't care about us, they care about you. So can you please go so that we can like kind of live off your shit? I was like, my God. And then he's like, well, just say you're going, but then no go. And he's like, I don't want to lie, and that was hilarious. I'm sure he even saw the irony. I'm like, I don't
Hmm.
want to lie, but my whole life's been a lie as
Yeah,
far
yeah.
as with Ilya, but okay. Yeah. Dude, kudos, hats off. Thank you, Lauren, and thank you to those of you who commented and said, I hope you guys watch the show. I absolutely didn't rewatch our episode because, I wanted to go in as blind, not as blind, as fresh as I could be, and my memory sucks. So I remember very little of our discussion last time. I
Yeah.
remember there was even like yogurt guy or fruit guy or whatever, and someone's like, his name is X.
It was
So
Kip.
yeah,
She called him Juice Guy.
juice guy.
Um, uh, and yeah, I just it's a special show, and I think yeah, it's just it's if it sparks a discussion, I
It
don't think
will.
it's necessarily going to change anything yet. But if it sparks a discussion, it did something really special. And the level of buzz that the show has gotten is is unbelievable. Like, I mean, honestly, we saw it as an impact to ourselves in a way that we've never seen. So, like, and that doesn't like mean that it affected us necessarily, right? But we put the term heated rivalry in the title of the episode, and it was by far the most watched organic episode in the history of this podcast. So, like, it is something special and it is something big and it's gonna continue to make waves. Now, I'm afraid for them for their second season because the expectations that are going to be on that season are going to be crazy high. And you are going to have to work a little harder to make sure you get everything right, especially if you take Shane and Ilya out of it or make them sort of side characters. Your new characters, your new main story components, they
Hmm.
got to be on, man. They've got to be good because that you are setting a very high bar that is hard to reach. Um,
Honestly, um, in Tierney, I trust. This guy, Jacob Tierney, wrote and directed all 6 episodes. You're a talented dude. And you also worked on Letterkenny, it looks like. And Letterkenny is a big show in Canada. I've seen memes based on this show. So
Letterkenny is hilarious, but it is based. So yes, it's directed and all that, but a lot of it is improvisational or written by the main actors. It
okay.
started as I don't know if it started on stage, but it was a touring like comedy bit that they did, and it but it is a big deal. Like Letterkenny, I think it finally came to an end. I think it came to end and to its end a couple of years ago. But it had a spin-off show called Shoresy, which was entirely about hockey,
Oh,
um, and has one of the characters in it that was kind of a background character in most of Letterkenny, but they made a show about him, and the other one was hilarious. Um, but yeah, having those two, and it looks like actually Jacob Tierney um, looks kind of like maybe his career started kind of slow.
yeah, because he's been around
In
for a long time.
yeah, but like nothing that quite, took off. And then there's a big break. Like from there's 2007 to 2017, there's only a few things, right? And then from 2017, there's nothing until 2022, which is basically Letterkenny. Or no, I'm sorry, 2016. Yeah, is when it really started to take off when he started working on Letterkenny. Even though he directed 48 episodes of that, so that's a big deal. But he's actually listed. No, I'm sorry. He's listed as an actor in Letterkenny.
Even better.
I wonder, did he actually? Yeah, he wrote 73 episodes of Letterkenny. Now I need to look at him and see who the hell he was in Letterkenny. Because, but yeah, he's got chops. He's got experience, and I think one thing that would make you special in that too is that he has gone through the bumpy road. His career started. Holy shit! I know who he was in Letterkenny. Oh my God. Oh, he's hilarious in Letterkenny, but he's fucking weird. Like he's a weird ass character in Letterkenny and it's hilarious. Um, but yeah, I think having gone through the hard stuff for a while, he's seen both sides and been kind of, a less major character and a less major writer and not viewed and now he's got his moment, right? He's out there putting this thing out there and the sky's the limit when you hit this. If he hits the next one,
He will.
then he's gonna be really well off.
So I'm also reading. So I read somewhere, I found it. It held the number one spot on US HBO Max for 20 consecutive days and became the top acquired non-animated title on the platform since 2019. It's not a 10 anymore, but it said episode 5 tied Breaking Bad's Ozymandias as the highest rated TV episode of all time on IMDb with a 10 out of 10. It's now 9.9.
Yeah,
Um,
and that's one of those ones we've talked about this before. Yeah, go down and look at the ratings and see how many ones there are, because there's a zero. Like, fuck you if you put a one on there. I can see if there's things you didn't like and you gave it a 6, 7, and 8, whatever. Like if it's just not your jam, like that's a personal thing. But if you try to tell me that this any episode of this show is a one, you're just hating, right? So like if I look at let's just look at the last episode here, which is now a 9.9. What total garbage now, completely horrible show, right? Actually, not to be fair, there's most of the reviews for that one are tens. There aren't that many ones.
yeah, and I'm looking
Yeah,
at episode 5. It's all tens.
yeah. All right, all right. Then I retract what I said. Then I do actually think that is a fair assessment. Funny enough, episode 5, which is now only a 9.0,
Mhm.
has definitely has a lot more ones than more ones than eights. I think is just it's kind of hard to tell because they're just very thin lines. But and I still stand by that. I still think if you gave this a one, you're just
A hater.
you're yeah you're trying to bring it down to make yourself feel better for some reason. And I'm sorry, you're a small person if you do that. Um, but yeah, it was amazing. It really was an amazing show. I think it was well done, well made. Um, yeah, but honestly, I mean, tell me where there's a genuine flaw in the show, and I don't know if you can.
My
I
only
mean,
flaw was in the, is like that minor nitpick on like the whole like, Asian, like really,
yeah,
like like her name is Chang. It's not Japanese. But no, but that's a very, very small nitpick.
yeah,
No, I thought it was wonderful.
yeah,
Great show.
and my nitpicking is just a personal preference on
It's
the
first two episodes.
relationship. Like
Yeah.
I really liked the other one a little more, and by the end, like I absolutely love where Shane and Ilya end up. It's just when when Kip and Scott have their moments in episode three, it's like a breath of fresh air because
Oh yeah.
everything's so tense and like complicated for the other two. And not that Scott and Kip aren't complicated, but like it's a little easier and a little happier and a little better for them. And
It's a little
it
more
just,
pure.
yeah, yeah. And I did enjoy that more, but I don't think it was necessarily the better story. Like it was definitely less nuanced.
The last thing I'll say about this is going back to the actor for Ilya is he kind of reminded me of like what's his name? Shoot. The actor who played Anakin. Um
Oh,
uh
Hayden Christensen
Hayden Christensen. He kind of gave me a little bit of Hayden Christensen, like a meaner Hayden Christensen. But anyway, I do see both of them having a future.
for sure.
Yeah, moving forward. So all in all, yeah, this was time well spent.
Yeah, I do think it's going to be really weird if I see Connor play like a dude from Texas all of a sudden. I'll be like, bro, you're Russian. Like I'll be like, well, I don't understand. But yeah, I think yeah, they did it. They did a good thing here. They did a really good thing for themselves, for their career, for the community, for everything. I mean, like I said, the notoriety this has gotten has definitely made it something that people are talking about, and that's always a big deal. So. Cool. Well, I said it in the beginning, like this is not something we usually do. Not only do we rehash something, but it's also an episode where we only talked about one thing for an extensive period of time. Like if you told me we were going to talk about one thing, I'd be like, cool, we're going to have a 30-minute episode. And we went long. So very happy that we got to have this discussion and experience the show and then have the opportunity to share it again in a more robust way. And hopefully some of the people will come back and watch this one, or some new people will watch this one and not hate what we talked about. I think we did all right. But especially for this one and with the last one, leave a ton of comments. Let us know what you thought, and you know, if it's about us, that's great. But I think I'm genuinely more interested in what people thought about the show. If you want to tell me I'm an idiot, that's fine. I'm married. I get told I'm an idiot all the time. But yeah, definitely. If you're watching, if you're listening, comment like crazy. We want to know, what everybody thought, and or I guess what they enjoyed the most about it, because there's a lot of stuff to like in this,
Indeed.
and cool. So with that, I will say thank you to everybody for watching and thank you for listening. Have a great week, and we'll see you next time.